month. I've been waiting to talk about the storm that's coming this weekend because I didn't want to freak people out. And a lot of these forecasts never pan out, but this one is panning out, it looks like. Yeah, everyone's in agreement now that the crazy forecast is actually happening. This is going to be one of those storms you probably remember for much of your life. Basically, more than the eastern half of the United States is going to be below freezing. Most of that below zero. They're calling for, foot and a half of snow all through here, all the way to the mid-Atlantic, and 3 inches of ice in this pink band right here. 3 inches of ice is unbelievably catastrophic. That is worse than what Texas experienced in 2021. There's going to be loss of life. Anywhere there's 3 inches of ice, there's no power. There's not going to be a power line that's not on the ground when there's 3 inches of ice. And emergency services aren't going to be able to reach you because there's 3 inches of ice on the road. That's what's going to happen if this forecast is correct. The grid's going to fail. Refineries are going to shut down. Water systems are going to shut down. Could knock out a couple of LNG terminals if it goes far enough south on the Gulf Coast. This is going to be a disaster if this forecast is even close to accurate. I mean, a major disaster. Huge natural disaster across pretty much all the southern states. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you live in the pink area, you should plan to be without power for at least a week, maybe a month. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you need to prepare for it because it wouldn't be the first time it happened, okay? This is that. People went without power for a month in Texas in 2021. This is a repeat of that. For you folks in the upper Midwest, where it's going to be like 30 below, take the largest electric bill you've ever had in your life and add, 25% to that or more. Yeah.
Simpsons are said to have predicted it. In the year 2026, a deadly snowstorm will strike the United States. 7 days of ice, 7 nights of silence from January 19th to January 25th. It begins with dark clouds stretching across the sky like a warning no one can ignore. Then comes the snow. Not ordinary snow, but giant flakes, heavy and sharp, falling faster and faster until entire cities vanish beneath white. Phones stop working, batteries die in the freezing air, and people who step outside feel the cold burn their skin like fire. Even the news anchors, the ones who are supposed to stay calm, stare into the camera with wide eyes and shaking voices. Water pipes burst, internet lines snap, and skyscrapers freeze over, transforming into icy towers that pierce the sky. The world feels abandoned, silent, frozen, and they say only those who are warned can prepare. Only those who speak their names will be spared. The Simpsons predicted it. The storm is coming. January 19th to January 25th.
And pushing into parts of... Meanwhile, the next big winter storm is loading up, and this is going to be one worth watching. We're expecting to see this blast across millions for the south and pushing into parts of the southeast and even the mid-Atlantic by the time everything's said and done. This is a major storm, and this is a bit of a whopper, especially as we go into the weekend. Texas has already activated a state of emergency in response to this. We also have the hurricane hunters that are flying into this to get some new data as well. So look how massive this storm is. We have all eyes on this here at Fox Weather because there's so many different layers, so many different chapters that we're going to be watching moving forward. This is all being sourced by that Arctic air that we just talked about. It finds its way all the way down into the Central Plains, and as it does so, we're looking at not only snow being a big issue there in the blue, but ice being the even bigger issue for more than 25 states as we head into the end of the week. Time frame here is going to be Friday into Monday. So you have plans this weekend, you need to listen up. This is going to be one worth watching. A couple of things are happening in tandem, one of which is the cold air that's currently working its way to the south. At the same time, we have this area of low pressure that's going to be pushing in across the southwest by the time we get into the end of this week. A couple of questions that still lie. How much snow? We haven't yet put totals to things or ice at this point in time. I think we'll have a fine-tuned forecast on that this time tomorrow. But what we are watching is that this cold air is settling in. At the same time, there's moisture that's pushing in from the south. Off of the Gulf, this keeps this very moisture enriched. So for an area like Dallas, you end up right in between, and you get in on kind of the worst of the winter weather out of all of this, if you ask me. You have ice that's going to start setting up, or a wintry mix that will lead to ice in areas like Dallas, over towards Shreveport and Jackson, eventually into an area like Atlanta. So these are some major metroplexes right in between this, and the time frame takes us from Friday through the end of the weekend. Notice that even as we get through Sunday morning, this storm is still continuing to progress, and it really is still producing a lot of big opportunities for snow across the north, ice into the central parts of the country, and even some rain to the south, which isn't the biggest deal. More so that ice is what we're watching. So Fox Weather, we have all eyes on this. We actually spoke to the Dallas-Fort Worth National Weather Service about where they are advising people to get prepared for and how at this point in time. Take a listen.
We hope that people are taking this opportunity through the middle part of the week while conditions are still not too bad around here to prepare, get those emergency kits ready for their homes and their vehicles. If you have a generator for your home, make sure that that's ready to go. It does look like we could get a fair amount of ice, especially near and south of the I-20 corridor too. So that's always going to be a big threat for power outages as that starts to accumulate on trees and power lines too.
So one of the things that we're continuously watching here at Fox Weather happens to be the model comparison. And they're starting to come into agreement with a lot of what's playing out with this storm. There still are a couple of differences that we're keeping a close eye on, but if you look at the Euro, the AI model, it does have Dallas kind of farther south of where that bigger snow totals can kind of set up. So that means Dallas is likely seeing ice. You fast forward it here to the model, the Euro model. Ice is still a big problem in an area like Dallas, but we also see big opportunities for snow into parts of the central and Ohio Valley parts of the country. And then we also look at the GFS, which also ticks the snow a little bit farther to the south. So northern Texas over towards, say, parts of Arkansas, Oklahoma, could actually likely see some snow out of this too. So there's still some fine tuning that needs to play out with this, but this is going to be a
This morning, millions from the Midwest to the East Coast are waking up to a bitter blast of Arctic air. Feel like temperatures today in Minneapolis could plunge to 19 degrees below zero. Single digits are expected in cities such as Buffalo, Columbus, and Kansas City. All this amid back-to-back winter storms, making for treacherous travel.
You could see some of the cars were struggling getting up the street.
Freezing rain pelting this Long Island, New York highway. In Michigan, heavy snow causing whiteout conditions on the roads. Several inches falling in parts of New Jersey, blanketing neighborhoods. Residents there digging out. And the weather even impacting game day.
I know that field's going to be slippery out there today.
In Massachusetts, the Patriots battling the elements, winning in a turnover-filled playoff game over the Texans. Up in the stands, the weather was no match for these shirtless fans.
Got time. Shot downfield in trouble.
The Los Angeles Rams overcoming strong winds and temperatures in the teens to beat the Chicago Bears in their own stadium. The wintry weather pushing farther south than usual. Residents from Texas to Florida getting a rare taste of snow.
It's like my second time experiencing snow because it normally never snows here.
Kids in the Sunshine State taking full advantage while flurries dusted palm trees in Pensacola, a sight rarely seen in this part of the...
Job chapter 38 verse 22, and it says, "Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow?" And this is the Heavenly Father, right? Talking to Job. It says, "Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow? Or hast thou seen the treasures of hell, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war?" Right? So the Lord's going to use the snow, all right, as an instrument, a sword. It says, "By what way is the light parted, which scattereth the east wind upon the earth? Who have divided the water course for the overflowing of waters, or the way for the lightning and thunder? To cause it to rain upon the earth where no man is, on the wilderness wherein there is no man, to satisfy the desolate and waste ground, to cause the bud of the tender herb to spring forth. Hath the rain a father, or who have begotten the drops of dew, out of whose womb came the ice?" So the Heavenly Father is telling you that he's doing these things. "And the hoary frost of heaven, who have gathered it? The waters are hid as with a stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. Psalms 147. And I'll start at 15. It says, in the KJV, it says, He sendeth forth His commandment upon earth. His word runneth very swiftly. He giveth snow like wool. He scattereth the hoarfrost like ashes. He casteth forth ice like morsels. Who can stand before His cold? Woo! Look at that. Let me read it in the NLT. It says, He sends His orders to the world. How swiftly His word flies. He sends the snow like white wool. He scatters the frost upon the ground like ashes. Look at that. He hurls the hail like stones. Who can stand against His freezing cold? Woo! All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Hopefully this message was edifying. I like to say shalom.